Hey guys, welcome back to our second episode of Tea Time with Carmen and
LaToia.
thank you guys so much for joining us on our last episode, which was introducing ourselves and talking a little about where we are headed in 2019. If you are new and joining us now and you haven't seen that episode, we will have a link in the bottom description box linking you to that episode so you can head on over there and check it out. So, this episode, we are going to be talking about self love.
That is such a work in progress for me, but I love the fact that we can talk about it now because I feel like it's very important.
Yes. So, we are heading into this topic, this second episode, because it's a major work in progress that we will be working on coming next year. Not that we're not working on it now, but it's going to be a major goal coming this new year. And it's a daily practice and a daily routine that every one of us has to do. It's not something that we can just buy offline or take a pill, and all of a sudden we're loving ourselves. Excuse me. It's a work in progress each and every day.
I totally understand, and I agree. For me, some of the things that I kind of been looking into here lately for me, as far as self love is concerned. So we learned in episode 1 that I am a mother, or a single mother. And that comes with its own set of issues and problems and whatever. But one of the things that I feel that's very important that maybe other single mothers deal with is lack of self-love. Particularly dealing with forgiving ourselves for the mistakes that we've made.
Right.
And when I say that, I'm not saying that my son is a mistake.
Right.
Because that's completely far from the truth.
Mm-hmm.
But being a single parent, you have to deal with the fact that, you're going to be doing this on your own.
Right.
So there's clearly something that you possibly did wrong.
It's a lot of work.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That lands you in this situation. One of the hush-hush things that many people don't talk about is postpartum.
Mm-hmm.
And all the feelings and guilt that you deal with that, with that. But just some of the things that I would touch on, that I would like to touch on. So I have this app on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I love the app. I've used it not like I should.
Right.
But it's geared toward giving you self-love tips, self-help tips, parenting tips. And they shoot you messages. Of course, there's a paid version. There's a free version. So currently right now I'm on the free version. But they still provide pretty good tips even on the free version.
Yeah.
One of the first things that I read this evening actually was, it said, my mistakes or your mistakes are a part of who I am, who you are, and they don't control me or define me.
Right.
I love that because it's helping you to see that you don't have to drown in your mistakes. Nobody is perfect.
Yeah.
But just because you make a mistake doesn't mean that you're incapable of moving forward or that you're incapable of being loved or loving yourself.
Yeah.
It means that you can forgive yourself to move forward, which leads into the second point that I learned was that forgiveness, it's a journey. And in order to grow on this journey, you have to forgive. So forgiveness allows you to take the slate, wipe it clean, and love who you are in the moment, in the present, which I find very hard to do. It is very hard for me to do that because, especially when I see my child do some of the same things that I do. Like, for instance, most people probably wouldn't realize it, but I kind of have a little of a temper problem. it's kind of always been there on the surface. Um, but I have managed to keep it under control. I've only had a few moments where I've just like absolutely completely lost it. But um, while I have the temper problem, my mini me, he has that. It's not like a temper, but just quick to frustration, kind of quick to maybe. Um, he gets so frustrated with itself. And then that, frustration can lead to having a temper problem or anger problem. So I'm trying to cut it off here.
Right.
He tends to get very frustrated with himself. And I feel like that's probably one of the mistakes that I have made in raising him, because he's seen me get frustrated with myself.
Right.
And get mad. I'm like, oh, I can't believe I did that. And I think he's picked up on that.
Yeah.
So when he goes to do his homework, or something as simple as he's playing with his toys, and if he accidentally knocks something over, like, oh, I can't believe it. And then it hurts me as a parent to see it, because I realize that is he's a product of me, and that's something that unfortunately he's picked up. So it's something that I know that I need to work on, because I want to keep him from going down that same path too. Also, I learned that part of self-love and forgiveness was that you want to forgive yourself for the ways that I have held myself back and messed up. So I think of, I'm in my 30s, so I think of what have I personally held myself responsible for that maybe it wasn't a big deal in the end. No, I'm not where I really wanted to be.
Yeah.
My life has taken, obviously, some twists and some turns and some bumps in the road, but
it's taken a course that you didn't plan.
Oh,
like, you made plans.
Yes.
And like, that's the thing. Like,
plans. The old expression, plans are made to be broken.
Yeah, and like I heard the other day, if you want to make God laugh, tell him about your plans. And
yes.
That just hit me really hard, because it's like you probably, when you start in your topic, we strive so hard to be perfect, and none of us are perfect.
Right.
Like, growing up, my parents, especially my mother, was always comparing my sister and I to other children. Why can't you be like her? And when I was your age, and just a lot of comparisons. So that kind of like, and she was always stating, not directly but indirectly stating how, I guess, trying to say that she was perfect in a way. So with that, it caused me especially to strive for perfection. And like you mentioned, the frustration within yourself and within mini-me. And it hit so close to home, because when I make a mistake or when I fail at something, I am so hard
on yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's just like the strive for perfection, and it's every day. And
you will literally you will have crazy moments.
Yeah. Like, it's like moments where you just want to pull your hair. Like, literally. I don't know if it happens for any of you guys, but it's just the striving to be perfect, striving to look a certain way, be a certain way, talk a certain way, and you compare yourself to others, and knowing that you're just not, I guess, when you're not perfect, it just frustrates you, and it stresses you out, and it causes you anxiety, and it just causes you not to love yourself.
It does. I think about, and I am remiss for not having really watched the series. I'm not anyone who knows me knows I'm not a series watcher, because when they start switching nights, or if I miss an episode, the way that my life is set up, if I miss an episode, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to be able to go back and catch it.
Yeah.
It's just, it is what it is. But there was a series that came out, oh my goodness, with Gabrielle Union, where I think it was called Being Mary Jane. And she used to start off her morning, or she had like post-it notes on her mirror in the morning. And I feel like there have been so many movies or other series of that same similar situation where it's the woman in the mirror with post-its on the wall or words of aspiration all around her to get herself pumped up and motivated. Because I think and I could be wrong, and this is obviously coming from the female perspective, but I feel like people underestimate what all a woman what's all on her shoulders.
Yeah.
Whether you are a businesswoman, if you're a businesswoman, you went to school, you got your degrees, you got your student loans, and then you're out in the corporate world trying to prove yourself to everyone that you are worthy of what you're asking for. You are worthy of what you went through to get to this point. Then if add being a mom to that, that's another hat. Or add being a wife to that, that's another hat. You're still someone's child. You are, you're a member of your community. You're a role model for other little girls and boys. Not to say that doesn't happen to men, but somehow, somewhere along the way, a lot of that obligation has been removed from the man, in my opinion. Comment, like, troll, whatever, men. I feel like a lot of that obligation has been removed from men, and it falls back on the woman. Because at the end of the day, no woman wants to see her child looking bad. No woman wants to see her husband looking toe up. You can't go into work with all of those issues on you, so you have to be put together, which then forces you to, put on a facade, which means at the end of the day, by the time you come home and you cook, you clean up after everybody, you have one-on-one time with your spouse, if you can get one-on-one time with your spouse. When do you make time for yourself?
Yeah, where's your one-on-one?
And I'm here to tell you, I don't have a spouse. I don't have a significant other. I don't have a partner. I don't have a boyfriend. I don't have any of that. But somehow, even with that being removed, when I come home, I still don't take time for myself.
Yeah.
I think me and you hung out recently. That was my first time hanging out in probably way over a year.
Oh, yeah. We went to dinner a couple of weeks ago.
Had some drinks.
Had a drink. Had some food. Had a great conversation. And
that was my first time in forever.
Yeah.
Because then the time for that was when we went to that venue, to that event.
Yeah.
And that event was, do you realize that event was about 2 or 3 years ago?
I know, that is crazy.
Because Mini-Me was 2. So that might have been 3 years ago. So that was the last time that I went out and did something for myself.
Yeah.
So you can fully understand the significance of what I'm saying. My Mini-Me is 5. So I'm telling you, in the 5-year period that my Mini-Me has been on this earth, I have taken out time for myself to go outside the house twice. 2 times. And through all of that, I have, and others would say I have overly focused on him. Am I that helicopter mom? I will admit, y'all, I think I'm that helicopter mom.
Yeah.
But I had one person tell me the other day that they said, I get the fact that you're a single mom. And I get the fact that you are doing everything that you can for your child. But at the end of the day, when are you going to do for yourself?
Right.
When are you going to draw the line?
Right.
Because at some point you're giving of yourself, but you're not replenishing yourself. Now, mind you, from the person that it came from, I was like, what? They're dropping some truth bombs.
Yeah.
Because that person, has moments where I'm just like, no, honey bun, no. So yeah. I just thought it was funny that it came from that person.
And and that's a big part. All of that to say is, that's a huge part of self-love, is
Mm-hmm.
taking time out of your day
Mm-hmm.
and focusing on you. Whether that
Mm-hmm.
is meditating,
Yes.
whether that is, you know, putting on a face mask, painting your
Yeah.
nails, like just
Getting your
focus.
nails done, go
Yeah,
getting your hair done.
like focusing on yourself, because self-love is a daily practice. Like I had mentioned earlier, it's not something that it's not a product that you can buy off Amazon or
Mm-mm.
eBay or anything like that, that you open up the package and self-love is.
It's not. It's not. To me, I feel like self love has to be cultivated.
Yeah,
It's not.
you have to practice it every day.
Yeah, you
Every
can't.
day.
You you
And it's
can't.
hard. It's hard.
It
Like
is.
you
Yeah.
touching on the subject that you had mentioned about women, I feel like you said, not to throw men under the bus
Which I
or
can
what
so
have you.
easily do. I'm here to tell you, I can so easily throw a man under the
You
bus.
troll. But like what it is, I feel is women are cultivated to be perfect. Like you have to look a certain way, you have to speak a certain way, you have to be a certain way, like you have to cook, clean, go to work, be a super mom, take care of this, take care of that, make appointments here, man. Like I feel like that's cultivated in women to just
We're called upon to be
be
the
everything.
extra, the super mom, superhuman um, individual.
Yeah.
That's what we have to be, because when you think about it, which is really sad at the end of
Mm.
the day, if women didn't shoulder so much responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
just think of how many households would fall apart.
Yeah, I mean, I look at some moms on Instagram, and I know that you can't take Instagram and the internet, I don't want to say seriously, but
You have to be selective in who you choose to follow.
yeah, and
Like learn their backstory. It's more so learning their backstory before,
mm-hmm,
before I click follow
mm-hmm.
on anyone's Instagram or Facebook. I need to know your story. Tell me where you're coming from.
Yeah, I feel like being open, but another thing, I feel like a picture is 1,000 words, but at the same time, like looking at the picture, you can't like a picture.
You're still,
I guess
for as hard as some, and not to cut you off, but I feel like what you're probably shooting toward is the fact that even with the most inspiring
mm-hmm,
uh, blog, Instagram, Facebook that you follow, in the pictures that they take,
mm-hmm,
they're still putting forth their best foot forward.
mm-hmm.
So that picture that speaks 1,000 words, it's still only a picture.
Mm-hmm.
What happened behind that picture?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It there was, oh my goodness, there was a photo that I saw the other day. Case in point, it came across. It was a news article that came across my Facebook. The picture. It was a picture of a sink, and the dishes were washed,
Mm-hmm.
neatly put up. They were drying. The sink was clean. The counters were clean. And I was like, oh, I so wish that could be my kitchen right
Yeah.
about this moment. But the article title got me. It said, "This is the kitchen. This is the picture of a, I think it was a depressed person's life."
Mm-hmm.
And it caught my attention. I was like, oh, oh. So when I read it,
Mm-hmm.
it was a mom. She was a mom. She was a wife. I think she had 2 or 3 children. And she said she had just recently kind of pulled herself out of a bout of depression.
Mm-hmm.
And that same pile of dishes that we're looking at thinking that's just awesome and amazing, she said it had been there for weeks.
I think I read that same.
Did you see that?
I think yeah.
And
I
she
saw
had
it.
passed
And I
it
cried
several
about
times.
it.
And I sat there and I was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my goodness. Like, what a nice take
Mm-hmm.
on revealing the different sides of depression.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But again, if you hadn't read that article or
Mm-hmm.
didn't even catch the title or pay attention to the title, you would have never known. But whoever she is, if she ever hears this podcast, kudos to you,
Mm-hmm.
because you're brave enough to talk about depression.
Mm-hmm.
You're brave enough to talk about your lack of self-care, right, your lack of self-love, what you needed to do better, and how just lack of not taking care of yourself can lead
Mm-hmm.
to such other things.
Yeah.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was awesome.
Yeah. I think I read that like a couple of weeks ago. I think I liked it on Facebook actually. We can pull it up and link it for you guys down below so you guys can check it out and read it. It's an awesome piece of work, because like you said and you touched on it, you know, it can be the best picture perfect picture,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't know the backstory to it.
Right.
How, you know, how it was taken, I guess you could say.
Mm-hmm.
But touching on that, because that's a subject that I wanted to touch on later on in episodes about depression.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that's part of my life,
Mm-hmm.
which is depression. I was diagnosed with depression back around age 15, 16, I believe. And seeing that photo brought tears to my eyes that I wanted to cry because I was going through the same thing. Where all of these stuff start piling up.
Mm-hmm.
Dishes, clothes, you know. And it's not that we're lazy.
Mm-mm.
Like, it has nothing to do with that. Like, some of you guys may think, oh, and like I see your point of view, but I also see, you know, my point of view. Like, I know, like, someone outside looking in will say, oh, well, she's just lazy and she you know, whatever. But there are moments where you're just so low on energy, where there's
Mm-hmm.
days where I just don't have the motivation to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. Like, it's hard, you guys. Like, I don't like talking about my depression as much because every time I am open, about it, I always get the same questions like, what do you have to be depressed about? Why are you depressed? And it's so irritating,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not something that you can just flip a switch.
Right. Right.
And
because depression can be severely
yeah,
debilitating.
Mm-hmm. So, like that picture, at the time that I was reading that picture, there was dishes in my sink that had been piling up, and my boyfriend kept insisting, like, when is that going to be cleaned up? When is that going to be cleaned up? And he knows that I have depression. I opened that part of me very early in our relationship because I guess you could say I was scared that if I told him later on, once we were serious, that he would run away. So I thought, might as well go ahead and get this out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to stick around, stick around. If you don't, okay, that's fine as well.
Mm-hmm.
But it is hard. It is hard sometimes finding the motivation to get up and following through. Like, you're just mentally tired, physically tired. And there's just no room to take time for yourself, to self-love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And
I give you, so I've known Carmen 3 years now, 2.5, 3 years, something like that.
2.5.
I give you credit for even taking the time to, when you shared it with me, and you shared some of your backstory.
There was a crying session, you guys. It
Yes.
was a session where we both,
Just,
talked about our background,
yeah,
how we got to where we are. And it was a crying fest.
And I'm not a crier by any means. Well, I'm more emotional now that I've become a mom, but traditionally speaking, I'm not a crier. I have a rather tough exterior. But I give you credit because I haven't gone to the doctor. and shame on me. So to the listeners out there, I'm not a huge fan of the doctor. um, I mean, I take my mini me to the doctor, but I'm not a huge fan of them personally, um, for myself. But anyway, so I have not yet taken myself to the doctor to maybe potentially see if I do have depression or if I have any type of whatever. I've always joked that if I were to ever go see a psychiatrist of anything or anything like that, they would probably have a field day with me. They would probably want to see me a couple times during the week, and I don't have pockets for that. Right. But you know, and I can laugh and joke about myself and the issues that I have dealt with when it comes to, you know, we can self-diagnose ourselves. I think, or I feel like if you're trying to be in tune to yourself, you can probably diagnose yourself with just about anything. However, when it comes to issues of depression or mental health or self-health, I feel like even if you don't know what it is, you know when something's wrong. Yeah. So, Carmen has been here through some kind of major issues that I've had over the past couple years. For why the topic of depression is so important, and self-love is so important, because she has seen me at one of my lowest points of my life, and in that particular point in my life, she was able to kind of step in and keep me from going a little psycho. So kudos to you, and kudos for you taking the time to go to the doctor, because there are plenty of people like me who we just don't go. But for those who may question Carmen for why, or what do you have to be depressed about, what people don't understand is that depression isn't always a current issue. It can stem from a past problem that festers until one day it just kind of bubbles over to the top. And if you don't have that support system, or you don't go get help, that's how you can spiral out of control. So from the outside looking in, and then dealing with my own issues, don't think that depressed people are, I think it's insulting to think or accuse them of being lazy or not caring, or just pick yourself up and go, dust yourself off and go. It's not that simple.
It's not. And like with me, I'm the type of person who keeps going. Keep going. And
when you crash hard.
Yes. And it's just like, I'm the last person, like you said, you're always thinking of everyone else. You're always helping every other, you know, person. You're always there for everybody else. You're always, you know, figuring out the things for other people. And then when you come home and it's just you're just like,
you in four walls.
Yeah. And you're just like, you're so tired that you just don't make room for yourself. And that's just the thing with me as well. Like, there is a story behind my depression that only certain people know. And it's not that I don't like talking about it, but like you said previously, the forgiving word is something that I need to work on as part of my self-love, because forgiving for me is very hard, because I hold grudges. I literally hold them. And, you know, my mother has told me before, don't hold them or it will fester into just something ugly. Like, it's just like this little black, I guess, energy.
Probably like whole energy. But here's the unique thing about what you said. Your mom, who I feel like I can say has been a source of the backstory of the depression, can tell you or can say to you, don't let things fester. one of your main issues is trying to give you guidance on how not to be. I just find that funny.
Yeah.
You know, I just find that a little funny. But with that being said, forgiving and forgetting are major keys.
Yeah.
That are it's hard.
It's really hard. Because like LaToya said, two people I feel that I need to forgive and move on are my parents. They are my parents. They are my parents. And I know that I cannot blame them, but I do. Like, it's a whole nother topic for another episode.
Yeah.
Cause
They hold a sense of Okay, I don't want to say a sense of responsibility because I do feel like when, as children, we reach a certain age, that we have to be adult about certain situations.
Yeah.
But I think in order to be adult about certain situations, the adult thing to do is to acknowledge what the source of our issue is. So how I have worked it out in my head. I've acknowledged the source of some of my issues. I've acknowledged the fact that some of those sources are never going to be able to come to grips with what they have done. I have acknowledged and accepted that different time, different place, different time period, depending on who the source is, that they were dealing with the information that they had at hand. Prime example, I signed up for all the parenting blogs, y'all, when I had my mini-me. Now the parenting blogs are saying that corporal punishment, spankings, whatever you want to call it, are detrimental to our children's well-being. That's obviously a conversation for another podcast because I don't want that going off in that direction right now. And the article was very interesting how it was comparing generations past to generations current. So I took what I needed to take from that article, and then I had to chuck the rest of the article because but I use that in comparison as an example to show you that, or to speak on the fact that when you're addressing your issues, and not that I'm all knowing and wise, it's just my 30 some odd years of life has brought me to this point, is that you have to acknowledge the issues for where they stand in the time period that we are. I'm not saying that makes it any easier, but it might make it a little bit more bearable. So if your issue is your mom, then like, how old is your mom? Rhetorical question. What time period did she grow up in? What were the issues that she dealt with? What materials did she have? What guidance did she have? I'm not saying that makes it right. By no means am I saying that. But I feel like for me, what has worked for me dealing with my triggers I'm not going to say depression because I haven't been diagnosed. And I don't want to use that word loosely in reference to myself. I'll just say low points. That has helped me deal with my triggers to some of my low points because I had to find something. I had to find some way to refocus and redirect to figure out why I was feeling what I was feeling. Which I think, future episodes I'll talk about postpartum too, because I feel like that runs hand in hand. But self-love
it's a work in progress. It's hard.
Serious work in progress. Matter of fact, one of my co-workers today, we were talking about that. And she was encouraging me again to go do something for myself. Get out the house, get a babysitter, go do something. And I told her, I was like, well, I just feel so guilty because I feel like the weight of the world is on my shoulders.
Right.
when probably in reality it's the weight of my world
Mm-hmm.
on my shoulders.
Of course.
But it's funny that we're talking about it tonight because I just got reminded of that again from a complete stranger. You know, I've only been working with this new girl for a little bit, so
Mm-hmm.
she doesn't replace you.
You're not tongue.
But it's just funny that here lately in the last couple of months, self love is uh, being put back on my plate. People are reminding me of that. People
Mm-hmm.
are encouraging me to um, step out of my comfort zone.
Right.
Try something new. You know, oh, y'all, it's just it's a lot. It's deep. It's heavy.
Yeah, self-love is heavy. I mean, for me, it's the hardest thing ever because, like I said earlier, growing up, I was always compared to other people. So that to me just, I guess, instilled in me that I'm not perfect, but I need to be perfect, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
striving to be perfect, but I'm not perfect. And when I fail at things, I literally, I don't want to say that I hate myself, but I feel unworthy.
Mm-hmm.
And that
Mm-hmm.
affects me, and then that triggers my depression, and then that makes me come to a low point because I start comparing myself, like I said earlier,
Mm-hmm.
looking into Instagram and looking at people's pictures and, seeing how happy they are and seeing what they have and doing all of this and doing all of that. And then I see myself and I'm just like, well, I want to be like them. I want to be that perfect. I don't want to have depression and all this. And I can see that, they must love themselves. Why can't, it's just a
Mm-hmm.
whole lot. I think one of the biggest things that um, I feel like mainly contributes to my self love is my weight. Growing up, you guys, for I don't think I spoke about it, but I have a sister who is 4 years younger than me, who has always been. I'm 5'1", and I believe she's like 5'2", 5'3". So she's
Mm-hmm.
a few inches taller than me, and she's always been thin, and we have always been compared. She has always been the one that is always being told she's beautiful and she should become a model, and then there's me, and
Which for y'all, there's absolutely nothing wrong with her, but continue. I just had to throw that out there.
and just growing up, my mom always, like since I was young, put me on diets, um, whole wheat cereal,
Mm.
salads, um, water, just a whole bunch of stuff. I even went to a nutritionist.
Mm.
I've just, like, my weight fluctuates. You know, I'll lose weight, then I'll gain, and then I'll lose weight. And then I'm so impatient when it comes to losing weight. Like, I want things to happen overnight. And I know people, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a daily, you know,
So, as
work.
the gurus say, it's a lifestyle change.
Exactly. And yeah, I feel like, you know, it's something that I need to work on. I need to, and that is one of my main goals coming 2019, like starting now and to 20, to 2019 is, I will be blogging my journey to weight loss and hopefully sharing that with you guys on my personal YouTube channel.
Mm-hmm.
So stay tuned for that. Um, but yeah, I mean, self love is just hard.
There's so many things you can say about it.
Yeah.
I feel like this could literally be a 2-part episode, because we've talked significantly about the subject. But so going back to you and your sister. So y'all, let me tell you, the first time I met her sister. So okay, because you know me, and I feel like I can say this. So I don't think I had seen a picture of your sister before
I
we
don't know.
before we met that day.
Mhm.
I don't think I'd seen her. So, Carmen had shared with me her upbringing, and so in my head I had this picture.
Mhm.
Okay, and don't tell your sister I said this because she's got her own set of newness that she's dealing with now. But I'm gonna confess it to the world.
Mhm.
Carmen, I think you're cuter than your sister. I'm just saying. I'm just throwing
Oh
it,
Lord.
I'm just throwing it out there. I like in my head. I just from your description and from what you said your mom put you through.
Mhm.
In my head, I'm going, yeah, she's pretty,
Mhm. Mhm.
but I like Carmen's personality way better. I think Carmen's gorgeous. Like I'm just,
Thank
it
you.
like it
Mhm.
it blew my mind
Mhm.
because I just wasn't seeing it. Not to
Mhm.
say that your sister's not attractive, that she's not cute, but I think your mom put so much on it
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that for me as an outsider looking in,
Mhm.
I'm going, well, I'm pretty sure, that this issue was probably just blown out of proportion for one reason only, and
Mhm.
that was
Mhm.
just the weight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Because
again, because I
yeah.
haven't seen with your mom, I haven't met your mom,
No.
but I
Yeah.
but I but I feel like in my head, I feel like the picture in my head probably makes sense,
Mhm.
but I'm just like, okay, I'm not catching the hype. I still, I still want to hang with Carmen. I still would rather Carmen do my makeup and my hair. Like,
Mhm.
so, like, you know,
Yeah. It's just.
I feel like your sister hasn't come into her own yet. And I feel
Yeah.
like when she comes into her own, and I think with this new situation,
Mhm.
that's gonna happen sooner than
I hope so. I
that we
hope
have
so. Yeah.
anticipated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think how I feel about you will be how I feel about her in the next
Mhm.
couple of
Mhm.
years. Because when I met your sister, she was 21, 20,
I think
19, 19, 20, something like that.
somewhere around there.
In my personal opinion, and you can call this old head talking about young people, fine, cool, whatever, I don't care.
Mhm.
19 and 20, you are not your own.
Yeah. Of course not. No.
And
You want to take on the world. Like
yeah,
you don't know who you are. You don't know where you're going.
you want to take on the world,
But reality has hit her in the face.
yes,
So.
but your sister was not ready to take on the world when I met her.
Mm,
I feel like she was
yeah.
living in it. You know what I have in my head.
She's a new mom, you guys. That's what we're inside. She is 21
Mm-hmm.
and a new
Brand
mom.
spanking wet
two
behind the ears.
2 week old baby who is just my little nugget. That baby is a precious
Mm-hmm.
thing in
She's
this
adorable.
world. I never thought that cause like I mentioned before, and we will talk about it later on in other podcasts and episodes. But I'm struggling with the idea of having kids
Mm-hmm.
and being a mom. But I feel like I need to work on self love first before I can enter that realm,
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could say. And yes, weight has always been an issue for me. You know, my mom always comparing the fact that at my age, she was never the size that I was. Um, you know, growing up, her friends would always talk about my weight and how I needed to lose weight and what I could do to lose weight. And it was just always weight here, weight there. You're big. And like, it's caused me to just hate myself. Not even hate myself, but dislike myself. Because I don't like using the word hate, but dislike myself in the sense that I don't like looking at myself in the mirror. I dislike looking at myself in the mirror. I don't like it at all. I try to avoid it as much as possible because I will look at myself in the mirror and just pick apart the fact that, you know, I have fatness here, I have a roll here, I am this size. Like, like, everything has always been about my weight, even in school being picked on about my weight. You know, why are your arms this size? Why are your thighs this size? Why are you, like, it's so hard to practice self love because touching on the other subjects, like, I'm constantly going, like, go to work, come home, cook, clean, do this, do that. be here for my boyfriend, you know, just a whole bunch of stuff that by the time that I have time for myself, it's literally 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock at night when I'm finally in bed. My boyfriend has gone to sleep, but all I want to do is just go on Instagram and just look at, you know, the gossip and or scroll through Facebook and watch meme videos, you know, stuff like that. So, and then I'll come across self-love posts, self-love videos, self-love quotes and articles and stuff like that, and I get inspired, but that's about it. Like
that's about as far as it goes.
Yeah, because just taking the time, it's just, I know everything is work, and we have enough time in this world to get things done. It's just making it, you know, making time for it, and it's just the hardest thing ever.
Yeah,
you know. All right, guys. So that concludes the first part to this deep topic, which is self-love.
Yes, with more to come.
Yes.
Stay tuned. We'll be uploading the next episode. We don't want to overload you with so much at one time because it is a real topic, and we wanted to make sure that we took the time to explain where we were coming from, our viewpoints. Also, stay tuned for our upcoming poll. We wanted to make sure that we ask, can you be in a relationship if you don't love yourself? I think in the age of where we are, this dating age, dating is rough, guys. So we want to make sure that we get your opinion on that.
Yeah, definitely leave your comment, your opinion on that poll. You will hear in the second episode.
Part two episode
of this podcast. We definitely want to hear your thoughts on it. So thank you so much for joining us on this first
part A. Click subscribe. We also are going to be working on our Facebook page. That way we can take our polls live, that we can do some live podcasts.
Yeah, and we can definitely, you know, answer any questions live. So definitely stay tuned for that. And this concludes the first part to our topic, self-love. Thank you so much for joining Tea Time with Carmen and
LaToia.